Hey there, QQ here again. As you may have noticed, I haven't really been keeping up with the recaps. I'm going to switch to covering things that are a little bit more in depth, take a little bit longer to research, but are much more relevant to my own interests. Here to help me is Rayndrops. I don't work very well solo, so I'm happy to have Rayndrops here to do the research and script writing for me. So one thing you might have noticed during this giant ongoing video game controversy is that us gamers had historical record and a little bit of help from prior communities infiltrated by SJWs, like the atheism and skeptic community. Also, some other communities have reached out to us gamers as well, asking for our expertise with mixed results. Rayndrops came up with an excellent idea, that I should do a bit of coverage of these other communities, so we can see what's going on elsewhere, and so we can offer our expertise to others, much like the skeptics did for us. For our first video, we'll be looking into the English visual novel scene, or EVNs for short. Rayndrops is working on his own visual novels right now, just for full disclosure's sake. At the moment, EVN developers are for the most part divided into two camps. First, there are the devs who write the games of the more erotic sort, mostly staying within what Steam's content guidelines allow. And the other tribe much more closely resembles the indie gaming clique that we're all familiar with. Right now, the bulk of the EVN community is mostly isolated from the indie gaming clique, with a few exceptions. Both tribes have a few titles that somewhat broke out of their circles, but for the most part, there haven't been any English visual novels that have really hit it big yet. Well, save for maybe Katawa Shoujo, but I don't count that because it's a free game. At least there hasn't been a big commercial hit on the same level as something like Hotline Miami or even Dungeons of Dreadmore. But let's take a step back and look at how we arrived at this current situation. Most visual novel fans probably already know of Katawa Shoujo or Cripple Girls, which came out as a demo in April of 2009 and was fully released in early January of 2012. 9 months after the demo was released, a familiar name pops up. Yes, that's right, Leigh Alexander wrote a post for Kotaku about the visual novel, which of course attracted the attention of her followers. 1 month after the full release of Katawa Shoujo, Analogue A Hate Story was released on the Steam platform, and we all know the real reason why that game got any attention. Christine Love. More like, Christine love it when my friends cover my games without any disclosure. Analogue A Hate Story was the first visual novel to be sold on Valve's Steam platform. With one or two exceptions, these were the only English visual novels to gain anything resembling popularity before Sakura Spirit came along. It is interesting to note that the artist who worked on Analogue also did some of the art for Katawa Shoujo as well. So what about the blogs of the EVN scene? Well, there's not many of them. One of them is called vnsnow, which is ran by someone who is openly obsessed with Christine Love, whose games he has reviewed and given awards to. He takes it so far sometimes, he makes Arthur Gies look good by comparison. What does the EVN community in general think about Gamergate? Well, one of the influences within their small community is Matthew Hollinsworth, aka Mad Scientist 212, someone who follows practically everyone in the EVN community, many of whom follow him back, and he is overwhelmingly against Gamergate. This is the same person who wrote a series of Tumblr blog posts complaining about Fire Emblem Fates in a form that practically resembled a manifesto. He conveniently ignored the fact that the game wasn't out yet, and his issue with the game was due to a mistranslation. This person and the people that he retweets are the only ones that many in the EVN community have as their window into what Gamergate is about. This is their only exposure. Creators have ran into some issues as well, with backlash if they don't strictly toe the party line. Sound familiar? There was a little group called Lupasoft who left the EVN community several months ago. One of the things that prompted their decision was a review of their game, their Reject Demon Toko, which falsely accused one of the game's characters of being a rapist. While Lupasoft may have progressive leanings, their games are not complete social justice pandering and have elements in common with the Sakura games. The way things are going, it's more than likely that something will break out really big within the near future. It's entirely possible that visual novels may even surpass ebooks, at least in some of the smaller genres like science fiction, fantasy, and horror. The question is, however, where that big hit of a visual novel will come from. The future of English visual novels is still up in the air. Will future big hits transform the scene into yet another indie circle jerk, a carbon copy of what exists in general indie games? Looking down its nose at the consumer with a smug sense of social justice superiority? Or will it become a flourishing scene with diverse themes and worldviews explored, and at least care enough about their audience to avoid manipulating them for personal gain? Well, that's partially up to us, all of us. Yes, we decide the future by being aware of the scene and making informed purchasing decisions and being vocal advocates for the direction that we want to see things go. Remember, vote with your wallet and advocate with your voice. Ciao!